Welcome to the Haven Collective. I'm J.R. Foresteros, and this is the Beacon Bit. Today we are talking about Ezekiel chapter 37, which is one of the most famous chapters in the Bible. It is the vision of the Valley of Dry Bones. We even have a kid's song about it. You know, the foot bones connected to the ankle bone. That song that's about this. The God takes the prophet in this vision to this valley that's full of the remains of people who have been slaughtered by the Babylonian Empire. So this is in the wake of the exile. It's basically like a mass grave for insane amounts of human trauma that are directly Ezekiel's people. And then God tells Ezekiel to prophesy over the bones so that they come back to life. And that's exactly what happens. Ezekiel sees all of these skeletons in like what I think should be a horror movie, but somehow has become like a cute little kid song, right? They all connect together, and then the sinews and the muscles reform, and then they get skin, and then they all come back to life. It's a vision of resurrection. It's not just a vision of resurrection. It's a vision of new hope out of conquest, out of destruction, out of the consequences of empire and injustice. So the prophet here is really functioning in a way like an artist. And so, in light of that, I thought rather than me trying to wax poetic about Ezekiel, I would bring in someone who I think is a poet for our time, someone that I've long admired. He is an activist, he is a musician, he is an author. He's one of my favorite people in the world, and I'm so glad that he agreed to join us today. His name is Andre Henry, and he's here. So let's welcome Andre to the Haven Collective. Andre Henry, the one and only, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited about this conversation.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invitation.
So I've been following you for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years, I think. And anytime I talk to you or talk to other people about you, I describe you as an activist. But
Uh-huh.
I'm starting to think that is not how you see yourself.
I'm starting to think. Um, I have a complex relationship with the word activist. Um, I think that I am what people think of when they use that word, right? But my problem with the term activist is it creates a special category of people.
Okay.
And there are a few things I want to say about that. Um, let me tell a story. I went to this was like maybe a year into me um shifting my focus around my art, my music, all the gifts that I have really, I was like, I'm gonna throw everything I can at racism. So um I was writing, I was making videos, I was writing music, I was performing and really talking more about racism in the US. Went to this wine bar in Pasadena where I used to live called Bodega. And I remember someone introduced me to one of their friends there because me and my friends used to go to Bodega every Wednesday night. And someone introduced me to one of their friends and introduced me as someone who I don't remember what they said, but something to that effect, activist or civil rights leader or something, right? And the guy gets really excited. He's black, by the way. I think this is important. And he goes, "Oh, you're into social justice? Oh, that's so cool, man. Social justice isn't my thing, but I'm so happy for you, right?"
Okay.
And that illustrates to me the problem that I have with the term activist is that activist is what we call people who it's like we're saying it to me, it sounds like we're implying that fighting for your life is like a hobby or a special interest,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? You're once you wake up to the fact that your personal suffering, which is where all so-called activism comes from, is not just a personal problem, but it's an instance of collective suffering that is shaped by political factors. And the way to mitigate that personal suffering, which is actually tied to the suffering of others, is to change the world. people start saying you're doing a thing. Like, oh, you're and not only that, my problem with activism, with the term, okay, no, let me stay with the special thing, then I'll get back to what I was going to say, because I'm on a path here with the special thing. Is when we do that, we create this class of people that has a particular interest in doing a thing, not unlike fishing or gaming or whatever. And it puts a lot of weight for changing the world on a certain group of people, first off. And it also excuses everyone else who isn't doing that work from doing it.
Because it's
Right.
not my thing. It's cool
Yeah.
that it's your
It's
thing, but it's not my thing. So
right. Exactly. And the thing is, I didn't want to be an activist as a kid. I wanted to be a fireman, you know. And then because fire trucks were red and red was my favorite color.
absolutely.
So I wanted to be a fireman. Yeah, yeah. I get to wear a red hat. I get to drive a red truck. You know, I get to use red fire hydrants to put out red fires. Whole lot of red going on. My life's gonna be great. Then I found out that Bob Marley was a singer-songwriter when I was about 9. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a job. Like I didn't realize that you could like that was a career. I thought you had to be like a policeman, a fireman, or like a postal worker or something. And so like of the three, I was gonna choose fireman,
Sure.
right? That's what I say that to say people don't like kids don't say that what they want to do when they grow up is fight for a livable planet or fight systemic racism or something like that. So what happened with me was I was minding my own business as a musician, thinking about a plan B, deciding, okay, well, if the music thing isn't going to work out, then maybe I should, become a professor or something. And then I had a wake up call that the type of suffering that I've experienced in the world is, like I said earlier, part of a collective problem that is shaped by political power. And the way to really mitigate it is for us to change the world. So I went about doing that as a citizen, right? Like, and a person who, if this doesn't happen, then me, my nephews, my nieces, my brothers, my sisters, my aunts, my uncles, my mothers, my fathers, my mother and father. I actually do have more than one mother and father, though. like godparents, and people like me are not going to be able to live safely in the world. And so, what I'm trying to say is, I don't want to be special. I want to be one of millions of people who understand that the suffering that we are experiencing in the world is connected not just to one another and to other people in the various groups that we're in and across the various groups that we're in. They're connected to political forces. And the way for us to really be well in the world and to live fulfilling lives, meaningful lives, dare I say happy lives, is for us to be able to change the world. And so that's why I have a complicated relationship with it, because I realize that when you say activist to people, it boxes it into something and disconnects it from the other identities that you have and from other people, which is going to bring me into another problem I have with this is the commodification of this, right? It's like when you talk about what I do in the world, I'll tell you another story. I started a podcast in 2017. I think it was 2017. And I didn't know anything about starting a podcast. So I hired a company to help me produce it. And they had the hardest time with me because I wasn't trying to sell anything. I wanted to start a podcast called It Doesn't Have to Be This Way so that I could tell everyone about everything that I was learning about nonviolent struggle as I was learning. I know that we'll talk about this, but I was studying so much about nonviolent struggle because I understood that I could see in history, nonviolent struggle has helped Black people gain rights that we didn't have in the past. So that told me, well, I need to learn about nonviolent struggle so I can participate in it. And what I was learning, I was like, everyone should know this. So I wanted to start a podcast. And this podcast company had such an issue with me because not like they were frustrated with me. They just didn't know what to do with me because I wasn't trying to sell something, right? Well, I've lived long enough as an activist. As a matter of fact, I asked ChatGPT how old I am in activist years today, and I am 200 years old. So in activist
Congratulations. Happy
years,
birthday.
Thank, thank you. My new alias is Methuselah. You know, codename Methuselah. Um, anyway, oh my God, I completely derailed myself. Um, by interrupting myself with a joke. What
It
was I
happens to the
saying?
best of us.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't know what to do with me. Right. So now I've lived long enough as an activist. That's what I was saying. To see that many people have figured out that the thing that they can do with social justice discourses, rhetoric, information is build a platform and make a living. I don't want to do that, and never have wanted to do that. And even if people don't think I'm trying to sell something when I talk about this stuff, this boxing in that I'm talking about, I think is a part of our capitalistic common sense, right? Where we think of people as resources and tools for certain things. It's branding, right? It's so these are issues that I have. So I have a complicated relationship with it because I obviously am a person who cares about what is happening in the world, right? But I think that we need to keep in touch with the humanity of why anybody would live in the world the way that I do. Let's be completely honest. I have done some altruistic things, and I will continue to do some altruistic things. But my interest in racial justice is selfish. My interest in racial justice is self-interested because I don't want to die in a traffic stop. And so what I started doing was writing articles and going live on Facebook and writing songs about this because the world was telling me while I was watching people like Philando Castile die on Facebook Live and watching Alton Sterling die on the internet in these viral videos, the world was trying to tell me that racism is not a problem. And I'm saying, yes, it is. Like, I've experienced it myself, right? I don't want to be special now and for it to become like I'm like I'm like Clorox bleach or or a Duracell battery or a Swiffer or something where it's like, oh, he was made to do this. He was born to do this. He has special skills to do this. No, I'm just another ordinary person who is trying to do their part to survive. And I understand that my survival is caught up with systemic forces. Now, in the process of that, I've also come to understand and learn that the thing that I'm fighting to survive is connected to all kinds of other issues that are complicating life for other people, you know? So, a super long winded way to say, yeah, I understand what people mean by that. And sure, you can call me that. But when I say I don't want to be special, I want for everyone to feel like social justice is quote unquote their thing,
Yeah.
right? Because it's affecting all of us, right? And we all have the power to do something about it. And that's what I want people to know, right?
Yeah.
I I I I I have so much trouble with this because when people say so and so is an activist, it makes me like, well, I mean, shit, if I can opt out of this, then you know, like let's go.
Right.
I can't opt out of it because I know the truth. I
Yeah.
know the truth is that we can make a difference, right? And I know that the problem is bad enough to where we should do something. Like I know these things deep in my soul. I want more people to know it like I do. I want more conviction. And I know somebody's going to hear this long ass answer and go, you could have just said yes.
No, but so I will say, Andre, like I said, I've been following your work for years. I think I first met you on the website formerly known as X, or formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, right?
Ah, yeah.
I knew you in that box as Andre the Activist. That's where I
Yeah.
first subscribed to your
Mhm.
newsletter, to your podcast. That's where I pre-ordered your book, all that stuff,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
has been over the last few years that I have come to know Andre the musician, which
Yeah.
again, now that I know you better in that weird way that the internet can make relationships with people that you've never actually physically met, right? Like the way I feel like I know you
Yeah.
better because I know that you are first and foremost a musician. And it's
Yeah.
been really, I don't know, enriching for me to know the part of you that I feel is that more like authentic, full you, which is the musician self, not the activist self, as you said, fighting for survival. And so I wondered,
Yeah.
so back in 2017, when you really pushed
Hmm.
out, it doesn't have to be this way, which I think is just like,
Yeah.
it's such a it's such a great prophetic phrase, right? It says so much in such a pithy
Mhm.
little space that I love it. And you released a song in 2017 called "It Doesn't Have to Be This Way." It was very much
Yeah.
a spiritual. And then you did a
Mm.
remix in 2021 that's, I think, really different. And so I'm curious now. Now
Super
we're even
different.
3 years past 2021, which can't believe that. But when you
Uh-huh.
look back at these songs, at their similarities and their differences, how do you describe the two of those songs and their relationship? Now from the perspective of where you are.
For sure. And I appreciate, what you said about, understanding that first and foremost, like I'm an artist, right? If racial injustice was not something that we needed to fight, I would still be making music. I would still be singing and I would still be writing because I like to write and think and all that. And so in 2017, now this is the interesting thing, JR. So many people have bought that shirt that says it doesn't have to be this way. You know why I made that shirt?
No.
Because my assistant and I at the time were talking and we were like, I need to make some lyric tees. People listen to my music because they like what I have to say. So let's put let's put my lyrics on t-shirts. So many people have bought that shirt not knowing that that's a song, right? So many people have bought that jacket not knowing it's a song. I understand like branding is a thing. It's a part of our common sense. But one thing about branding that I know is that once somebody has it in their head that this thing is one thing, it's marketers say it's impossible to change their mind, you know? Like so a lot of people didn't know that it was a song and don't care. Don't care that it's still don't care to listen to the song. Fine, that's cool. But the Andre that wrote It Doesn't Have to Be This Way in 2017 had just spent a year